Lyft is getting into using robotaxis and self-driving cars. The future's here. Let's look at this. You can see right here that Lyft eyes robotaxi launch in 2026. So this is next year, but things in the self-driving car space are moving absurdly fast with Waymo, which of course we have to talk about in this video, and a lot more. Lyft is working with Mobileye and Japanese conglomerate Marubeni, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, to manage the fleet. So going down here, it's going to launch a fleet of robotaxis using self-driving technology from Intel's Mobileye in Dallas as soon as 2026. So this is starting just in Dallas. This is the same thing with, I think, a lot of other new features with Uber and Lyft. Look at Waymo, it's only in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Phoenix right now, but it's going to be expanding. And they plan to scale thousands of vehicles in additional markets in months to follow. To signal its seriousness, the company tapped Marubeni, a Japanese conglomerate, to run fleet operations. And this news comes right after Uber dropped new details about its plan to feature Waymo's robotaxis on its platform in Austin and Atlanta later this year. That to me, and I said this before in a couple of videos when I've mentioned it, is kind of alarming because here in the LA, for example, in case you didn't know, if you want to order a Waymo or self-driving car, you have to download the app, create an account, put on your credit card. You have to kind of do the whole thing, and then you order Waymo. So Waymo is both an app like Uber and Lyft, but also a vehicle. They're now partnering with Uber, though, like it says here, that in Austin and Atlanta, when you go to, like, say, order an Uber, it could also be a Waymo. And that, to me, is way crazier to show that this integration of not just utilizing the Waymo as an app, but also as a vehicle, is making the whole self-driving car space move forward, I guess pun intended, very quickly, right? In addition, Tesla recently shared plans to launch a robotaxi service in Austin this summer. So things are moving fast, right? Because Lyft is taking a similar approach as Uber, offering its ride-hail platform to different self-driving developers who want to connect with customers without having to build their own customer-facing operation. I think this is why Waymo's partnering with Uber in places like Austin, which is kind of interesting that Waymo's both doing its own thing, like say here in LA, in San Francisco, and Phoenix, but also doing partnerships. So it's kind of doing both, right? And I think that's just an issue of creating a new app, having people create an account, because like Uber, Lyft's interest is staying as asset light as possible, meaning other companies to own, operate, and maintain the robotaxi fleet for its customers, which makes sense, right? Lyft's basically saying like, look, we're not going to try to build our own self-driving car. They're already doing it in ways maybe that we couldn't. So what we're going to do is we're just going to connect it with the app in such a way that's going to be a good partnership. And as we see here, Lyft says that the Marubeni is a global leader in fleet management with over 900,000 vehicles worldwide through various subsidiaries and joint ventures. So you can see right here, this is from David Reisher, the CEO of Lyft. And right here, last November, we shared our collab with Mobileye to be Lyft ready. And we're welcoming Marubeni Corp. The future's here. And this is kind of crazy, to be honest, because, I've been doing more and more videos about Waymo, right? This channel is just about ride sharing, typically Uber and Lyft. But I feel like I inevitably have to talk about Waymo and self-driving cars. A couple years ago, it was kind of a thing that I maybe mentioned in only a couple of videos as, you don't have to worry about it. But then I just did a video, I think it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, with the CEO of Uber saying that in 10 years, it's probably going to be just self-driving cars, not that many human drivers at all anymore, right? And I think this is something, I hate to say it, I don't want to spread FUD or fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but for a lot of rideshare drivers, it could be an alarming thing that looking at the future now, you might have to be a bit worried and start being more concerned more and more about robotaxis and self-driving cars. And I said before in so many videos, there's been so many breadcrumbs, right? From the Waymo waitlist to being taken off to now just Waymo, to the fact that Waymo is now cheaper than a lot of Ubers and Lyfts here in Los Angeles, to the fact that, and this is a big one, that when it comes to self-driving cars, I think in the beginning for me, I'm like, well, you have the Waymo app and you have the vehicle. And that's a big step. Any internet marketer knows this. Anybody in business knows that to have somebody download another app, create another account, put down their credit card, it just so many added steps that a lot of people say, I don't care. But the fact that you can order an Uber or use the Uber app in Austin and Atlanta later this year and a Waymo could show up is showing that Waymo is doing a very smart business move of not just having their own app and their own thing along with their cars, but then also taking the vehicles they've already created, pioneered, and been improving upon, and then partner with Uber. And that's what Lyft is doing here as well, obviously with a different company. But I think this is just showing that the whole thing of, again, such like a very movie, sci-fi, dystopian type feel, self-driving cars taking over human drivers in terms of taxi drivers, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, rideshare drivers in general, is now becoming a real-world possibility. And I think what I'm kind of curious about to see how things progress is this. It's not going to be a binary switch. I've mentioned this already in 2 or 3 different videos, but it's not like in 2035. Boom, all of a sudden, no human drivers, only self-driving cars. It's going to slowly happen. Well, maybe for my Uber and Lyft drivers out there, you say, all right, I used to be getting 10 rides a week, but I'm just getting less because there's just so many robo-taxis out there, so many self-driving cars that I'm just getting less and less rides. And I think it's going to be this swing, this percentage swing, if I word it like that, where maybe right now, and I don't know, but I know there's about, I think, 150,000 rides every week with Waymo. I'm not sure how many rides there are in total with the entire ride-sharing world and market. But if I think of it like this, maybe right now there's only 98% Uber and Lyft drivers or human drivers. Let me say that. 2% self-driving rides. If you look at the total ride market, there's 98% that are done by humans, 2% done by robots or AI. But then it's going to be 97 and then 3. Then it's going to be 95 and then 5. Then it's going to be 90 and then 10, right? And slowly over time, we're going to get to this point where almost at a certain, maybe in a year or 2 years, at a certain period, we're almost, it's going to be a 50-50 shot. It's going to be a coin flip of half the amount of rides that are going to be happening are going to be actually done by human drivers. The other half are going to be done by robotaxis, self-driving cars, and AI. And then it's going to progress more and more. And it is one of those things that I think when it comes to AI, and if you look at the exponential growth of AI, Chris Sacca talked about this, very famous entrepreneur as well. The problem with the exponential curves is they're so hard for us to see. I was just watching this on a podcast. This seems random or rambling, but it's actually very relevant for this. That as humans, it's tough for us to see the growth of exponential curve as it's coming towards us. It's easy to look back in hindsight and be like, whoa, that happened out of nowhere. But to look at it in the future in foresight, it's really tough to see. And if you think about it, like say I'm making this up, the first month of ChatGPT, it got 10% better. But in the second month, it got 20% better. Then the third month, it got 70% better, right? The exponential growth of AI, using ChatGPT as an example, but other AI tools, is crazy right now. And when you look at self-driving cars, I think it's going to be that similar thing. I think, if you want to be honest, and I know this sounds very dystopian, very, again, I say a lot like Black Mirror, almost like sci-fi, that like, I know the Uber CEO did say in 10 years, it's going to be self-driving cars. I see it happening sooner. With things progressing so fast, not just in the technology, but now these partnerships and the business side of things. Now, again, not just technology, but business. Things are moving way quicker than before. And remember that every month, things are going to be moving faster and faster. Every month, Waymo makes more Waymos. Every month, there's more people downloading the Waymo app. Even though it's very limited, things are growing fast, right? And if you look at, as we all know, the bottom line of capitalism and business, a lot of these companies are saying, hey, if we don't have to pay a driver, that's a big W for us. Now, right now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know the financials of, like, say, using a Waymo, or in this case, what is the, or using a Mobileye. I'm not sure. I guarantee that maybe Uber partnering with Waymo, maybe there is something where, like, right now, maybe running a Waymo is just as expensive as a human driver. Maybe. I don't know, but if you think about it, you still need somebody on support who are watching the Waymos. In case you don't know, your Waymo is monitored when you're in it. Maybe people repairing the Waymos, making sure that the safety protocols, maybe a Waymo ride versus a human ride with an Uber and Lyft driver is maybe about the same cost. Maybe. I can't say 100%. But as we all know, with the way things are progressing, as things progress more and more with self-driving cars and technology, it is very apparent that we're getting to that point where the cost will be way lower. Like I said, there are some times where I go out and Waymo's cheaper than both an Uber and Lyft. And for most people, they say, hey, if this one option is cheaper, I don't care if I have a human driver or not, I'm going to take a Waymo, right? Things are moving fast with self-driving cars, self-driving technology, and it's one of those things which is so interesting that 2 years ago, I maybe did one video every 6 months about self-driving cars. I never even talked about it really. But now it's becoming something that I think people just need to be aware of. When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? I think we're still at least a few years out. I will say that. I still think we're a bit of a few years out. But both Uber and Lyft are doing this now. Robotaxis are 100% here to stay. And like I said, things are moving very fast. When is it actually going to affect human drivers? I don't know. But in a few years, it might be a bit of a concern.